On August 22nd, 1191, a Crusader army led by Richard the Lionheart of England set out from the coastal city of Acre, heading south towards Jaffa. Following the successful capture of Acre, Richard knew that securing the port of Jaffa was crucial before attempting to take Jerusalem. The Ayyubid Sultanate, commanded by Saladin, had destroyed Jaffa's fortifications in the summer of 1190, recognizing its strategic importance to the Crusaders. Richard's army for this campaign included 2,000 mounted knights and around 10,000 to 12,000 infantry, comprising spearmen, archers, and crossbowmen. Aware of Richard's movements, Saladin sought to block the Crusaders' advance to prevent the recapture of Jerusalem. The Crusader army moved cautiously, covering only 5 to 6 kilometers per day. Richard adopted this slow pace to avoid exhaustion from the intense summer heat, mindful of how fatigue had contributed to the disastrous defeat at the Battle of Hattin 4 years earlier. Richard carefully structured his march, ensuring his troops followed the coastline, where the sea protected their right flank from enemy attacks. His army marched only in the mornings, resting frequently near water sources. Additionally, a fleet of supply ships sailed along the coast, providing support and refuge for the wounded. Richard kept his infantry fresh by rotating them regularly. Despite constant harassment from Saladin's skirmishers, his firm leadership maintained discipline within the Crusader ranks. By early September, Saladin realized that hit-and-run tactics alone would not be enough to stop the Crusaders. He gathered an army of approximately 25,000 soldiers, comprising Bedouin and Sudanese archers, Turkish horse archers, and heavily armored cavalry. Saladin's forces were divided into 3 divisions, left and right flanks and a central force, commanded by experienced generals. He led his army from beneath his banners, accompanied by his bodyguards and kettle drummers. On the morning of September 7th, Richard's forces broke camp and noticed enemy scouts in all directions, signaling that Saladin's full army was near. Realizing that a major battle was imminent, Saladin decided to launch a full-scale attack. The Crusaders were forced to pass through one of the few forested regions of central Palestine, the woods of Arsuf, which ran parallel to the seashore. The dense woodland concealed the movements of Saladin's troops, allowing them to launch a surprise assault. Using the forest as cover, Saladin ordered his entire army to advance and engage the Crusaders. As Muslim forces emerged from the trees, the Crusaders quickly formed a defensive position with their backs to the sea. Infantry took the front lines, with archers and crossbowmen positioned behind them to protect the mounted knights and baggage train. Using the forest as cover, Saladin ordered his entire army to advance and engage the Crusaders. As Muslim forces emerged from the trees, the Crusaders quickly formed a defensive position with their backs to the sea. Infantry took the front lines, with archers and crossbowmen positioned behind them to protect the mounted knights and baggage train. Despite the pressure, Richard refused to allow the Hospitaller Knights in the rear to charge, knowing this was exactly what Saladin wanted. Instead, he kept his army in tight formation. The Muslim cavalry repeatedly charged the Crusader lines, seeking gaps to exploit, but the Crusader defense held firm. Suddenly, the Hospitaller Knights at the rear broke formation and charged straight at the Muslim ranks. Seeing this, their commander, Master Garnier, ordered all Hospitaller Knights to follow. This unexpected move triggered a chain reaction as nearby Crusader soldiers also surged forward. Historians debate why the Hospitallers initiated the charge. Some believe they acted out of frustration after watching their comrades fall to Muslim archers and could no longer stand idly by. Others suggest they feared continued inaction would doom them all. The heavily armored Christian knights smashed into the Ayyubid lines, cutting down enemy soldiers with lances and swords. Even Richard himself joined the fray, leading his men into combat. The ferocity of the attack shattered Saladin's army, forcing many of his troops to flee. The Crusaders' well-timed counterattack devastated Saladin's forces. As his army scattered in disarray, Saladin and his elite Mamluk bodyguards remained surrounded, but managed to withdraw. Recognizing the battle was lost, he ordered a retreat into the forested hills of Arsuf. exhausted after hours of combat. Both sides suffered heavy losses. Medieval records make it difficult to determine the exact number of casualties. Christian sources claimed that Saladin lost around 7,000 men, though the actual number may have been lower. Chronicler Ambrose wrote that Richard's troops counted thousands of Saracen bodies on the battlefield. Meanwhile, the Crusaders reportedly lost no more than 700 soldiers. The Battle of Arsuf was a significant victory for Richard, solidifying his control over the coastal region and keeping the campaign for Jerusalem alive.